Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about the Devil Amplifier. I think this amplifier is probably one of the most difficult amplifiers to build if you're using the traditional methods, right? In the traditional methods, what I'm referring to is using your trap tunnel. You stay on your amplifier, and your trap tunnel should do all the work, but you know sometimes your trap tunnels aren't good enough, or the terrain is kind of being annoying, and you just gotta kill while you're on the trap tunnel, or you just got to deal with certain situation like smashes while you're on the while you're near the trap tunnel. So in this particular video, it's going to be very similar to the Valley Amplifier build, right? So the Valley Amplifier build, if you have watched the previous video, if you haven't, go watch it. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to be luring the husk towards me, particularly the assassin husk, right? Instead of trying to defend on the amplifier, I'm just going to sit back behind the spawn and have a large portion of the husk follow me, right? Which would be particularly the assassin husk, right? And change the AI of the propanes as smashers, right? And to change the AI of the propane smashers to assassin husks, right? You build the amplifier as so, right? So this requires a little bit more than the Valley, so it's a little bit different, but it's a very similar idea, right? Where you're using these poles, right, and arches in order to change the AI of those two particular husks, right? Once you successfully change the AI of the husk, you're behind the spawn from the very beginning, and you're good to go. You can just kind of chill, right? And that's what the entire goal of this, the build is to do, right? Is so you chill behind the spawn, and everything should take care of itself, right? So it's not fully 100% AFK where you can be anywhere on the map, but for it to be very stable, you need to be behind the spawn, particularly for the Devil North, right? The Devil North, the smashers, right? It can be really troublesome to deal with, and the laser boys can also be really troublesome to deal with, right? So let's just get right into it, all right? And I'm gonna start off with the a little easier amplifier, which is the Devil West, right? And Devil West, I find it a little bit easier. Because it doesn't have the scuff terrain, right? It has a complicated lava bomb instead, right? So lava bomb would probably be the difficult battle of this, in my opinion, right? Once you nail the lava bomb, right, and the blockage, and then you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want here, right? And pretty much do whatever you want here. I built a simple recycler, right? But you can build a more complicated recycler if you wish, right? Let's get started off with the tunnel, right? So essentially they're going to spawn over here, they're going to spawn over here, and going to respawn up here, right? So up here there's a spawn, and down here there's also a spawn. So there's 4 possible spawn points, right? And what I'm going to try to do is path all the husks all the way over, all around into here, right? And up here, and then from here I'm going to recycle them, right? So all these wall launchers are going to launch them back, and these full launchers would launch them all the way down there, and they have to walk all the way around, right? So essentially this is kind of like the goal. I'm just going to try to recycle them. You can use a more complicated recycler again, right? But this is the simple one that I think works well. Alright. So all the wall launchers are 3 times impact, double reload. This is 3 times impact, double reload, 4 times impact, double reload, 4 times impact, 4 times impact, single reload, 4 times impact, single reload, right? So these would launch all the way across and into down here, right? And I have wall lights over here, and the wall lights are particularly to just try to slow the husk down while they're on the floor launchers, right? So they can still get floor launched, right? And be stunned, right? So they don't have to like walk over multiple traps at once, right? So they instantly get boom, and then launched, right? It'll be like a chain crowd control, right? Because they'll get stunned. While they're stunned, they'll get launched, right? The only exception to this rule is the riot husks, right? So the riot husks, when they're stunned, they cannot be crowd controlled, right? So to make up for that, the very last floor launcher will be no wall light, all right? So that if the riot husk comes over here, they'll still get launched all the way out, all right? And if they somehow make it through all of this, right, which would most likely be one of the weaker husks, then you have this over here, which is just to kill those little weak husks, right? And the double broadsides will pretty much kill anything that is hustling or a little husk, right? Okay, so this is pretty much the essential of the tunnel. It's a very simple tunnel in a sense, right? But the block off is going to be a little bit complicated, right? Just a little bit. So let's start off with a block off of this area, right? So the block off over here is just one additional layer behind that, right? With this little pyramid thing over here. right? And over here there is diamond floor pieces. These diamond floor pieces are to also assist with the lava bomb shift, right? And along that there is more slants over here, right? So there's a total of 4 layers over here, would be sufficient enough to path them 1 tile more north, right? And this particular one is going to be 5 layers, right? It's going to be 5 layers because nature wave. Now behind that, there's going to be more additional layering, right? So this additional layering is primarily for down here, right? So for the block off down here, it's going to be 4 flat floors over here like that, and actually 6. So it's going to be 6 flat floors like shown right here in a 3x2. There's going to be the slant over here, a wall over here, and the pyramids on top, and that is sufficient for that area over there. Okay. Now, for the block off down here, right? So the block off down here is a little bit tricky, right? I'll get back to that. So up here, you're going to have a lobber shield. So this lobber shield is actually very important to have, even though this is an overbuilt lobber shield. And the reason why this is overbuilt, because the flinger, all they have to do is actually be in this position to fling. So they need to be about here in order to be able to be in flinger range, right? But because this is overbuilt, this is actually overbuilt for the lobbers, right? So lobbers don't actually have to attack your amplifier. The way the amplifier is set up, similar to the valley build, is that they can actually attack the tunnels instead of the amplifier, right? And the tunnels that they're going to attack are generally going to be within 4 units away from the amplifier, right? So right about here, right? They'll start lobbing, right? So you need to be able to have lobber protection against this area of the tunnel, right? And this area is sufficient enough, right? So this lobber shield will be more than enough for that. As well, this lobber shield not only acts as a lobber protection against your own tunnels, but it also acts as a prevention of the flingers from bashing through the walls, right? Because my Devil West currently does not have a flinger path, unlike most of my builds have a flinger path, right? Because of that, you're going to need to have extra blockage for this area, because what the flinger is going to do, they're going to, oh, I want to break through this wall, oh, I want to break through this wall so I can fling. But no, you need to have flinger protection against your own walls over here, right? So this would help with that. Maybe in the future I might develop a flinger pathway. Maybe over here could work. I'm not sure. I would have to test it out to verify if it can actually work. But until then, you can use this area anyway, right? Which you're gonna need a lobber shield anyway for the lobber, so I just left it here as so, right? And then this these poles over here, right? So if you notice, I have these poles over here, which is kind of strange. Like, what are these poles doing over here? Why do you have them, right? And the poles, right? What they're doing is actually preventing husk phasing, right? So if a husk, if they're too close against a wall and they get pushed against another husk, right, they can phase through the wall by mistake, right? And it's even more so when there is impact associated with that. So if they're really, really close to the wall and they're like right in the middle, right, of this wall, like they're phasing halfway, and then this wall launcher happens, they might phase through the wall, right? So to prevent that from happening, you need to just have them away from the wall, right? So we're gonna path them so that they're walking over here like this instead of hogging the wall, right? If they're hogging the wall, then they might actually have phasing, right? So this is just to help prevent that, right? And I do have these in certain builds just to prevent the phasing, right? But this is primarily present for areas that have high density, and this area is going to have high density because all the husks are going to be pathing from the bottom all the way down here, which is going to have also spawn here. This is going to be a very high traffic area. Because it's going to be a very high traffic area, we're going to need these little poles to prevent the husk phasing, right? And it's also going to be more noticeable when you're on the amplifier than up there where I usually camp, right? So normally I camp up there, right? For the smashers, for the lobbers, and all the assassin husks and propanes, so that they're pathing towards me, less husks in the tunnels. But if you're not over there, right, and you're going to notice more husks in this area, and it's going to cause some phasing unless you have these poles, right? So that is that, right? And so let's talk about this massive block off. So this block off is actually not as bad as it seems, right? walls down here, floors over here, slants over there, right? And then there's this, right? So in order to shift this lava bomb right in this 2x2, right? So this 2x2 relative to the amp, I think it's 2 tiles north, right? So it's 2 tiles north, right? 2 tiles north. Okay. In order to shift it, right, all you have to do is place these diamond floors all around here, right? Diamond floors all around here, as shown. I'm running out of structures, right? So if you place diamond floors all around there and in this area, right? So this area is also going to have some diamond floors as well, right? So these are going to have the diamond floors. Once you place it there, right? And then you should be having the lava bomb shifted pretty much. When I say pretty much, because there's one more thing that can shift the lava bomb. Well, there's a few, but for this lava bomb, there's one more thing, which is these, right? So these slants are also going to shift the lava bomb, and once you have these slants placed with the diamond floors all around, as shown over here, and those 2 spots over there, then you should have the lava bomb shifted 100% into this 2x2, right? Which is nice. All right, and then you just continue on and fill this up with the slants, with your diamonds, and you know, all this good stuff, right? So once you have this completely filled out over here, right, then you should be good to go for this blockage, right? There we go. It is a very stable 2x2. I've never had it leave, right, ever, and I think it's probably one of the most stable 2x2s I've seen, right? Because most of the time lava bomb shifts when you get in 2x2, a lot of times they don't become stable, right? And this is one of them that actually does become stable, right? So this is really good. Alright, so that should be that. And then also another important point to note, right? Which is kind of related to my build, right? So essentially, you see what I have here, right? When I'm having these half floors, right? And the reason why I'm having half floor instead of full floors, right? Because if this was a full floor, what's end up happening is that the husks are going to think, hey, we can actually path up here, right? All we have to do is go to this stair, it'll path up here to this floor, and we can go to the amp. Well, in actuality, what ends up happening is that once they break through all this, and then they reach the floor, right, there's there, and then they'll start breaking it. And then once the stair is broken, it's like, hey, oh, we can't connect there anymore. What do? Oh, we just keep on breaking through, right? So make sure that these stairs are not connecting to these floors, right? Or otherwise you're going to create a land bridge which is going to think, hey, we can actually path up there, right? You don't want that to happen. Even though in logic, it doesn't, you can't actually do that. But their thinking is that, hey, we can do that. But they destroy it like, oh, we can't do that anymore. Oh, rip. Right? Another thing to note is that this would also make the build from not working, right? So this and this, don't use them interchangeably, right? Just because they're probably doing the same thing. Yes and no, right? In terms of blockage, they're pretty much the same, right? But in pathing, they are different, right? So over here, the husks, right? When they path, they're going to path up here, right? They're going to path towards the north over here, right? We're going to follow the stair. But if you do this, right, what ends up happening is that this actually becomes a double stair in terms of pathing, right? So this is going to path them west over here, and this is also going to path them north over here, right? And this is bad because it's going to path them west over here, which is connecting to a floor, which then this floor can lead to the amplifier over here, you know, and that's really bad, right? So this would actually break the build because this is connecting over here. But if you connect it over here, it's not going to break the build because you're pathing over here. It seems like almost as this, like, it's as if they should, like, this thing should make it so that they can path up here. But their logic is that they actually path towards the stair side, right? So this is a double stair, right, in a sense, right? If you think about it, this is a stair over here, this stair over here, except they're only half away. And this is a single stair pathing north. So it's a little bit confusing, right? But I hope that makes sense, right? Where this stair is always going to path this way, right? It's never going to path them over here, right? Over here. It's never going to path them over there. All right? So a very important thing to note about this. All right. And as long as you have a tile that is a full length tile, right, like this, right, which is 2 half floors over here, they will path along here, and they'll get to over here. Okay. And I think that is pretty much it for the Devil West area, right? So on the amplifier, there's also additional block off, as you can see. Excuse me. So on the amplifier, all surrounding this right, is going to be pyramids and floors. So underneath each of these pyramids, there's going to be floors, right? And walls all around that, right, as you can see, except for this little pathing over here, right? And then pyramids and floors all around that, right? So we're gonna super layer this up, right? You want this amp super layered up, and then walls all around that, and then slants all around that, right? So these slants are gonna get all the way over here, and you should be good to go, right? So this is a lot of layering on the amplifier. What it's gonna end up doing is that this is gonna prevent the husk from pathing down here, right? So this will prevent a lot of the husk from pathing down here, right? So this is for the Devil North, as well. This is going to act as different additional block off for the Devil West, right? So it's you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, so which is really nice. Okay, so with that in mind, we can actually start talking about the Devil North, right? So the Devil North I would classify as the harder amp to build. And the reason being because of this scuffed area, right? There's not a lot you can do with this scuffed area. At the same time, there's not really a really good recycling system you could do, right? So the only recycling system I can think of that is highly effective is to make a kind of quote-unquote tunnel recycling system, right? So what I'm going to do is path all the husks over here, with the exception of laser boys and smashers, because they can't path over here. So this is one thing that you can't do, is path those guys. But everyone else is okay, right? So all the other husks are going to path up here, right, with the wall launchers all across here, right? So all these wall launchers are going to be 3 times impact. All the floor launchers are going to be 4 times impact, right? I think that wall launcher is 4 times impact though, but all the other wall launchers are 3 times impact, right? 4 times impact floor launchers, 3 times impact wall launchers. And this is generally how I do this recycling system. And I've actually been doing a very similar kind of build for a regular missions. If they're like exploding death burst, and it's like a super high level mission, and I don't feel like stalling it, and I'll be like, oh, let's build a tunnel that does 0 damage. That's still very effective. And this is one of those kind of tunnels where it would do no damage, and it would just keep recycling the husks, right? And it does not work on smashers, right? Which can be a problem, but for this particular amplifier is not a problem, because the way I designed the amplifier is that I have the smasher pathing towards me, and I'm standing all the way up over there, chilling the way. I'm just enjoying the view, maybe shoot some propanes for the hell of it. But yeah, so the smashers are not going to be a problem, because they're going to be pathing towards me, and I can just chill up there while I watch everything, right? Alright, so essentially this is pretty much it for this tunneling area. It should be just a simpler recycler, right, and using these roofs as not only a lobber shield, but part of the recycler itself, right? So this is also a lobber shield too. It's going to prevent the lobbers from lobbing and the flingers from flinging. I might actually, just to be safe for the lobbers, I might actually add that just in case, right? To be extra cautious. Because the last thing you want is lobbers lobbing on your amp. You're like, oh my god, I gotta go over there, and the husks are like aggro on you. Oh my gosh. But anyway, but yeah, so this is essentially this for this area, right? If they somehow make it over here, right, through all that excuse me, if they somehow make it all the way over here, there's recycling system, and the floor launchers are just gonna launch them over here, and then the wall launcher is gonna launch them over here. So this is kind of like a chain launch, right? And then they'll go back into recycling, right? So it's a chain launch, right? And the chain launch again only works it works on all the husks except for riot husks and smashers, right? And the riot husks are so slow you don't have to worry about them getting over there, right? And if they somehow make it over there, then there is the wooden floor spike with the broadsides, and that should kill any husk. At least for the smaller husks, right? Should kill any smaller husks, right? And then from here it's just wide open al fresco style. Okay, so I think that should be it for the tunneling up there, right? So let's go underneath, right? Let's check underneath. So underneath, I'm going to be using some of these floors, right? And one of the floors is going to be a tar pit, and then 2 floor launchers, right? And in order to place traps on these floors, there's probably YouTube videos of it already, but just to remind everybody, right? You make a triangle shape over there, you make this weird pyramid shape over here which connects to the triangle, and then you proceed to place your floor over here at a certain angle that you should be able to, right? And that's how you place the floors under it, right? And Alright, so that's how you do that. So that's the tar pit over there with the gas trap on here. So in case that there's a little hustling that comes over here, they should die from this gas trap because they're so weak, right? If it's not a hustling, then they should go over here and get floor launch all the way back into either here or the recycling system, right? So this is a very good way to deal with the husk from down here, is to just launch them back into the recycling system over there. And to be honest, there's pretty much no husk that comes down here, right? So this might get some usage, right? Maybe a little bit. And this might get 2 uses, right? So far I've seen the most amount of uses I've seen for these floor launchers is 2 uses in a wave, right? So it's very, very little, right? Very little. And the reason being is, again, because there's so many damn layers over here, right? So there's so many layers over here, and they're going to want a path over here, right? But at the same time, the Husk AI over there, and because there's none of this is blocked off, right? None of this is blocked off, right? So Husks like to wander a little bit, right? So a lot of times you're going to see in this wave, they're going to wander in this area and be like, oh, that's too many. Like, oh, that's too many, right? But if they wander too far, it's actually too far for the to walk back, so they end up walking all the way anyway, right? But it's very few Husks that are going to do that, right? Very few, again, right? So even if you didn't have all these fancy floor launchers and fancy traps under the terrain, you should be still okay with just some gas traps, some ceiling zappers and stuff like that. You should be okay with just those, to be honest, right? But this is just so that just to go the extra mile and just launch them back. Okay. Now, so that should be the tunnel explained with the layering back there, right? So let's talk about the layering over here, right? So over here, right? So if you notice on the other side, there is the scuffed area. Excuse me. So the scuffed area, like that, there's going to be this this little slant over here, right? So this is going to act as additional layering, and this is also going to act as additional layering, so that they're forced to path east, right? This is more than enough. There's probably even, I can probably remove one of the tiles, but I'll just leave it there for extra precaution. So this is going to be more than enough to path the husk over here, right? One more tile east, right? So they're one more tile east, so that they'll path a long way around. Because of the long way around, right? And again, discouraged to path over there, right? So if this entire area was completely open, if they had a straight path over here, there's going to be lots more husks coming in, right? But because we're forcing them to path one tile east, it's a longer pathway, therefore less husks, right? Longer pathway, less husks are going to be pathing over there, right? Makes sense. And of course, there's going to be several block offs over here, and the block offs are going to be too much for the husks are going to think about breaking, right? Except for the, like 1 or 2 that make it too far over here, and it's going to be too far to path back, right? Except for those husks, right? But in this case, I'm going to launch it back anyway, right? And so we have that, and this entire area is going to be very important. So these walls are actually very important, even though you might be, hey, you know, there's probably a more efficient way to block this off over here, right? But we actually need all these walls over here. What this is going to be doing is actually prevent the flingers from flinging, right? So if you don't have these walls over here with these slants over here, the flingers from Devil North will, this is what they will do. They will actually path all the way down to the scuffed area, path all the way down, path all the way down, path all the way over here, path all the way over here, and you know, and they'll find a way to fling, right? And they usually end up flinging over here because they have a minimum fling distance, right? They'll start flinging or start lobbing, right? And they can't do it over there, then they'll try to do it all the way over here, right? So they'll try to wall it all the way over here to Devil West and try to fling from here or lob from here, right? So this is why I have this lobber shield, right? So this is a lobber shield for Devil North. This is a lobber shield for Devil North for this scuffed area over there and this area over there, right? So it's a lobber shield, it's very important as well. So this is why I have this slant over here, right? To make sure that they don't lob over there, and also this over here, make sure that the lobber doesn't come over there, right? Excuse me. Another important thing to note as well is that these floors are going to have a minimum requirement of 3 layers, right? So there's going to be a pyramid layer, 2 floors, right? 3 minimum layers, and this is actually for Devil North, right? So if you don't have 3 layers, what ends up happening is some of the husks will actually path all the way over here, all the way over here, all the way over here, and start whacking over here, right? It is the long pathway. I don't know why they do that. We need to have 3 minimum layers over here to prevent that from happening, right? Which is nice because it's also acting as additional layering for Devil West anyway, right? So that is that over there. Okay. And let me upgrade that. So over here, right? So there's this lava bomb shift, right? It's a very simple lava bomb shift. All that's required is these 2 flat floors. You can use these as lava bomb shift as well, but I chose not to. And the reason being is because they don't really add much in terms of block off, right? It's not going to change this build at all. And furthermore, this broadside is for the husk phasing, right? Sometimes husks will phase through walls. You can't avoid it in certain situations, right? And this is one of those situations that I'm trying to think of if there's a way to avoid it, and I don't think there's a really good way to avoid it. So instead, I'm gonna do a little band-aid solution, if you will. And the band-aid solution is basically if a weak husk phases through, which is always going to be a weak husk. If you get a phasing that's weak husk, then that's okay, that's normal, right? If you get any other husk that's phasing, that is bad, right? So the huskling and the regular husk, if you get them phasing, that's normal, but you should try to avoid it still, right? But if you do get them, you can simply just kill them off with the broadside, right? And the broadside would serve better with the flat floor than this, right? Because the balls bounce better. Alright. Now, there is additional layering that I'm also need to talk about here, which is over here, right? So this wall over here, right, is going to have some additional layering. So this layering is actually primarily for these floors, right? So you're going to need those layers for those floors, either from this or from a roof above up there, right? So the roof above there would prevent any lobbers from trying to lob in here, right? And so, because sometimes lobbers want to lob through for whatever reason, right? And if you have an additional layer above it, then it will prevent them from lobbing, okay? And sometimes you're gonna have some husk phasing. It's very rare, but it does happen from the wall launchers, right? So sometimes they'll go over there, sometimes it gets chained, crowd controlled like this, and then they'll phase through, right? So to prevent that from happening, I simply use, again, a band-aid solution. Just broadsides on each side, and it'll instantly kill any weak husk, right? So that way, if they do get a phasing, which I have experience with it, then you can go ahead and do that. And you can probably use this kind of band-aid solution for many builds, right? Which you feel like it's not, or you don't know a really good way to deal with the phasing, right? And it's only a weak husk that's phasing. Then you can use this band-aid solution, and it should pretty much fix it, right? It's kind of a silly solution because husk phasing shouldn't happen, but this is just something we have to deal with, right? And unlike the Devil West, Devil North has a flinger path I made, right? Excuse me. So this flinger path over here, right? So essentially I'm going to have the flingers come over here, right? And just get them launched back, right? Using simple tar pits of wall launchers, and then block this off over here, and wall launchers, and tar pit over there. And this is actually sufficient enough from my experience, right? Just those 3 wall launchers and 3 tar pits is more than enough to deal with the flingers. Okay. This is also another important block off for the flingers for Devil North is this over here. So this would prevent them from flinging because they do want to fling from these positions over here, right? And I have a block off over here, all around here, to prevent them from going on this hill, which they can fling from the hill. Excuse me. And I think that's it for that. Yeah, and there's also one more thing. Kind of annoying. It's very, very rare to happen. I actually have only seen it once, where there is a spawn over here, right? So there is a rare spawn up here, right? And right now the way I deal with it is to just have this block off over here, right? I think though I do need a shield over here to prevent them from flinging up here, because I think they can't fling from this position up here because it's a higher ground, and the flingers do have a longer range on higher ground. So I think I do need this over here. But it's a very, very rare spawn, right? I've only seen it once, and this is also for protection against that. So that they actually path down here instead of around the side here. And as well, the floor launchers are going to launch them all the way up here anyway, right? So it's no big deal just to add that. But yeah, I think that has covered everything about my Devil amplifier, right? It's a little bit weird, right? Because both cases, on Devil West and North, I often just stand up here, right? And I just accept that Devil amp. If I get it, it's probably not going to be AFK. I just have to go over there and just sit there, you know, and just, you know, kind of chill. Right? I don't have to do anything. I just have to sit here, right? And that should be fine, right? Devil West, if there's no smashers, you can get away with not doing that, right? But if you do sit up there, it also reduces the density of your tunnels, which would make it better, right? So you sit up here. Excuse me. If you sit up here, then you should be good to go as well for the Devil West, and they'll just path over here, and then they'll not do anything, right? Which is nice. But yeah, I think that'll be it for today's Devil amp video, right? It's a little bit longer than I intended, but there was a lot to cover, right? There's a little bit tricky amplifiers, and I can show some gameplay footage of it. But overall, this should be very, very successful as long as you take advantage of that amp design and trick the Smasher AI, right? Trick the Smasher AI, and you're golden, right? You don't have to deal with smashers, and you can have regular tunnels, right? But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and go have fun building. All right.